And so speaking of that, I think this evolution in the enterprise software space is leading also to, evolution in related areas such as workflow management, intelligent automation, and we're seeing how AI is pushing into these intelligent automation spaces as well. And I know you have some thoughts here. There's been a lot of stories about this in recent days about how AI is affecting core AI, automation, process. And I'm curious what you've been seeing there and what is really getting your attention.
Well, there are actually three separate articles that on the surface you could easily gloss right over them and see them as not related, and I sort of lump them all together because they're all sort of attacking the same issue from different perspectives. The most buzzworthy was a company called Cognition AI that has introduced what they're calling Devon, what they're claiming to be the first AI software engineer. And what's interesting, it harks back to what we talked about a few weeks back about this idea of the AI app layer. And because what it really is, I mean, they haven't, at least I haven't seen any of the tech underneath the covers, but what appears to me is that it's really about they're orchestrating a bunch of different components and the different elements of using various forms of LLMs to put together effectively this idea of an entire workload where you tell it what to do and it goes out and builds a plan, does the code, debugs it, does this, and I mean, all we ever videos, so you never know. And they're saying if you have a workload, send it to them, they'll do it. So it's like no one's really actually played with this that I'm aware of, but nonetheless, the videos look super, super impressive. And one of the comments of a guy following LinkedIn said, "Is this the death of RPA?" And I found that very fascinating because there's another article about Automation Anywhere, how they just sort of blew the doors off their numbers and how they're seeing Gen AI powered automation, and it's really shifting as they are now again notable. Not in their announcement of their press release, no mention of RPA anywhere, at least that I saw. It was all intelligent automation, right? This idea of using AI to infuse into this to solve some of the traditional problems that RPA has always had about the fragility of it, and they're doing that. And Automation Anywhere is attempting to do this on a couple of levels. They're using it to make the actual automation itself more intelligent, and they're also using it as a co-pilot to have automation engineers, people using Automation Anywhere to do the work better. And then the third announcement was a Series B founding by a company called NanoNets that is using AI to try to, I mean, honestly, I want to do a briefing with them because I can't really tell exactly what it is, but it was all basically about using automation and using AI rather to build this workflow automation sort of like on anything. It's like, that's the kind of the pitch. It's like unstructured data, structured data, pull it all together, use AI to do it. And what it really speaks to me is that we're seeing this renewed focus on the need for automation. When I talk to execs, automation is a top of mind issue across the board. We're not sort of breaking it down anymore into the different buckets. It's just automation. We need to figure out how to leverage technology to drive efficiency, to automate more and more of everything across the spectrum. And I think AI is going to play a critical role in all of that. And so, I think that bodes well for companies like ServiceNow that have been pivoting more and more to this, AI fused automation and what have you. So it was just really interesting to see, all these different articles all sort of coming at it from different perspectives, really all speaking to the fact that, automation is going to be a major, major place to be playing in the next, 12 to 18 months.
Yeah. And I've always been kind of suspicious of robotic process automation, not because I didn't think that it was useful, but because I thought it had kind of a limited time frame. The kind of activity needed to define each individual rule for robotic process automation is honestly extremely tedious. It reminds me a lot of say when you are looking through 1,000 different payments line by line to try to find some sort of anomaly when you're closing the books or something like that. It just feels like an activity that needs to be automated over time, because human-based rule definition or human-based line by line auditing is just not a super useful activity. It's just that we didn't quite have the technology to make this work for a really long time. Like we knew conceptually that there was some way to do it better with computers, but didn't quite get there. But from with Gen AI, the practical aspect of that is that we now have a kind of common sense that we can use to say we're trying to get this task done, and now we can define 10 or 15 or 20 rules at once that are associated with this task in a way that will actually be usable in the workplace. And I think that's going to be really useful for the automation anywheres and the service nows of the world that literally have millions and millions of rules under management and now have a decent idea of understanding when does this rule go with this rule. If we have these three rules, is there a fourth rule that we have forgotten about because we're human that the likes of AA obviously will already know? And I think that ability to do that will be super useful in a tech world.
Yeah, to me, I think
Mhm.
what's going to be fascinating on the one hand, so I'm with you. It's always been the problem with
Mhm.
RPA is and any form of rule based or script based or just the fragility of the fact that we have so much complexity. And as again that
Mhm.
the Broadcom quote at the beginning, we talked about the challenges CIOs are facing dead on. Complexity is the enemy, right? We've got
Yeah.
to figure out ways
Mhm.
to deal with this and manage it more effectively. And so anytime you have this sort of rigid approach, it's always going to break, and you always it's like we've seen this movie over and over and over again.
Mhm.
Eventually it sounds great at the beginning, and as you continue to expand it, it becomes its own job just maintaining all the scripts, and it ends up breaking down because you're spending so much effort to try to build and maintain the automation that it's
Mhm.
exceeding the savings that you're getting from the automation. So this is where I think AI has a chance to really be a step change here. The question mark is going to be how much, at what point we hit that tipping point where people trust it enough.
Yeah.
Because, the advantage with the scripting is I know exactly what it's going to do. I'm defining that business rule and
Right.
I'm saying if this, then that. And with AI, particularly Gen AI, LLM based AI, we sort of don't know. I mean, on the one hand, it's super cool and
Mhm.
super impressive. And on the other hand, you go, well, I better hope it's going to do it. And so I think that, those organizations that can get that right, and so that's why co-pilots are where everyone started, because
Mhm.
it's the co part, right? It's like
Right.
there's a human in the loop. When we start applying this to automation, and I think this is somewhat sort of what nanobots, and I don't want to put words in their mouth because, like I said, we
Mhm.
haven't been briefed by them, but um, I think that's where they're trying to go, and I think that's the right direction to go. But I think there's going to be a trust barrier that has to be overcome for us to realize some of that.
Yeah, and going back to the Devin dev, I find that interesting because the approach of using these starred and prize-winning developers to create code that is the starting point for the logic means that in theory you just have a lot of high-quality code that is being used to automate this that coding approach. Kind of reminds me of Data Robot back in the day and how they were getting all of these award-winning data scientists to create models and then use that as the basis for their auto ML, auto machine learning capabilities. And so you had these smart models, and basically their entire thing was we're going to figure out what is the optimal model for you to create for all these different types of use cases. And at the time, a decade ago, it was groundbreaking because nobody else could do that, and you would normally have to pay somebody $100,000 to do the work that they would be able to do for much less. And so I see that Devon opportunity as a good one, at least to be able to handle basic coding issues. Do I want it to build my 100,000 line custom app at this point? No. But if I want to add a little something and maybe don't have the time to hire a developer to do a quick augmentation or a quick fix or a quick audit or a quick check, I can see something like Devin being super helpful from a
Yeah,
code
it,
automation
it'll
perspective.
it'll be curious to see it in the wild and see how real it really is. But regardless of how real it really is, what I do think it speaks to is the future. And we talked an episode or two ago about AI, AI employees. This is
Right.
what it's going to look like,
Mhm.
and it's going to be some form of this. Whether this is ready for prime time or not, it's just a matter of time.